Thanks, mate. Rightio, get myself set up. How was breakfast? Good, yeah? Give some feedback to the chef, see how we go. All right. Okay, so as Scott said, I guess to give you a little bit of a background on what we're going to cover this morning in 45 minutes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the science of persuasion and where it comes from and what it's about. But I just want to allay any fears that you might have up front. I was just saying to John, I'm a doer, I'm a practitioner. So I specialise and work with academics, but how do we actually take the research and make it immediately usable? So what I want to talk about this morning is give you a bit of an overview, but give you some tools that will mean something to you that you can go away and look at how you might implement them in your business, but also look at things you're already doing well. So out of it, when you look at a scientific framework that gives you validation, you go, you know what, we're actually not doing too badly, or there's a few things we could tweak. So I'm going to just give you a bit of an exposure to that this morning, and most importantly, then I'm going to open it up. We're going to have a backwards and forwards question time. Nothing's off the table. Whatever you want to talk about within the time frame that we have, if you've got any questions, make sure that you jump in and ask them at that point. Okay. So I guess to kick off as that brightens up, when it says secrets from the science of persuasion, and you hear this all the time in marketing and sales speak, there's no real secrets. It's just that people don't know about it. Yeah, and so what we're going to talk about, there's 60 years of behavioural research that sits behind how we get other people to do anything. And the reason why Cialdini he's been recognised as the godfather of influence, he's the most cited social scientist on the planet ever. He got Obama elected twice. And the reason he is so cited, his book has sold over 3 million copies. It doesn't matter whether you are a leader, whether you're an operational member of your organisation, whether you are someone who is client-facing every day, we have to deal with people. And so if you have to deal with people, this applies. And so the secrets is there's 60 years of research that tell us how to do it. I can measure, if we're talking about social influence on your P&L, people go, and I'll ask you a question. How many of you or your staff have an influence component to their KPIs? So they have to achieve a certain thing, or they have to reduce a certain pressure, or whatever that might be. And my question to you is, how do you measure it? And a lot of people struggle to measure it, and it's measured on the good person scale. It's, well, they're a good person, everyone likes them, so they must be good at influence. Well, it's actually wrong. That's not the way that it works. And so when you understand where and how we apply it, you can start to set influence metrics. Is the team cohesive? What's your influence reach? Are we able to convert opportunities or reduce things happening long before they ever turn into a situation or an issue for us? So we can start to track all of that. And so that comes from science, and then I'm the practical guy that actually is going to tell you how to do it. So we're going to talk a bit about that. So have you ever found yourself experiencing this? Where face-to-face, people are happy to shake your hand, they say, hi, how are you, I really like you, and you know behind you they're pulling out the biggest, dirty, greatest knife they've got, and maybe just to threaten you or intimidate you with it. And so when we start to talk about influence, really, it's starting to think about how do we change people's behaviour and how do we change people's minds? Do any of you are you dealing with people right now that you think you may need to change someone's mind? That there's some people who are steadfastly sitting in their chair, and every time you come near them, they just bounce off you and go, no, no, no. Yeah, okay, that's a classic example of where we actually need to employ some of these skills. And again, my 7-year-old son, every day. You think he'd clean up his room, wouldn't you? But no. And no one strategy will last any longer than about 48 to 72 hours. So it's a great learning curve for me. By the way, you can use all this on your kids as well. Yeah, so that's okay. But you got to make sure they're your kids. Just don't randomly go out and do it to kids on the street. Get in trouble. And so it's about how do I get him to change his view of the world about cleaning his room up? Well, the same thing applies in business. If you're putting in a change management strategy, how do you get someone who feels potentially threatened by that strategy to at least listen to what you have to say? If you're presenting to leaders or you're putting something to a board, how do you get them to see that it's different, it's challenging, won't be easy, but it's worth having a look at? And so sometimes it's about engaging in that pathway as well. For those of you who are consultants or have to work with clients, it's actually how do we deliver hard messages and get people to realise this isn't necessarily all roses, and do it in a respectful way. So we'll talk about how some of that applies. So the one thing that I'd like you to do really, really quickly, can you just turn to the person next to you and I want you to give them your definition of influence. What does the word influence mean? Because if it's all in your KPIs and we do it every day, what is it? So just turn to the person next to you and say, this is what I think influence is. Go. Okay, so wrap up the point you're on. So, did you both agree? No? So, and the thing is, invariably what happens is I can go into an organisation anywhere and say, okay, and they'll say, let's talk about influence. I go, great. What does influence mean for you? And we'll have 10 people in the room, we'll have 10 very different ideas about what we're talking about. So it's really difficult to talk about what influence is if we don't understand really what it is. So first of all, I just want to give you some definitions and help you understand what we're talking about. Then I'm going to give you the tools. You will have noticed that sitting on your table is a small card. So I've actually given these to you, which breaks down the 6 tools. In the time frame we've got, I'm just going to address 3 of them, and I'll tell you why I picked those 3 for you guys. I think they're the most meaningful for you, but that's yours. So when we hit the tools component, that's yours to refer to. So when we talk about influence, influence is simply the power or the ability to affect someone's behaviour. Can you guys change other people's behaviour? Not really, yeah. And so there's many, many different ways of doing it. And we might, to get to yes, we may role model, we may lead by example, we may build rapport, we may give them facts and figures. There's lots of ways we can influence people. But when we talk about persuasion, persuasion is the process of altering the way that someone receives a message that changes their behaviour. So now, if you think of influence like an umbrella, okay? And so there are many spines to the influence umbrella. One of those spines is persuasion. So I can change your behaviour by persuasion. There's 60 years of research sit behind it. As part of the breakfast, I believe, Olivia, are we sending the resources out to these guys after the breakfast? Yeah. So you're going to get a white paper that breaks all this stuff down, so don't worry too much if you're not getting the stuff that's on the notes. So one of the things, the persuasion is one spine of that umbrella, and what it's about, it's actually changing the way people perceive you or perceive a message about whatever it is you're trying to put out there. And by way of example, have you ever found yourself in a situation where as long as the suggestion or the recommendation comes from you, the person you are trying to influence will say no? And if it comes from someone else, they'll say, that's a fantastic idea. And if you can show them that it's their idea, it's even a better idea. But as long as it comes out of your mouth, they're going to say no. Have you ever had a situation in your organisation where there has been a new proposal, recommendation, innovation, technology, whatever it might be, and even though it's top shelf, it's perfect, people still go no? And generally it comes out of their fear of change, their fear of status. What will this do to my position in the organisation? And so their natural reaction, people don't like change, and so their natural reaction is to react against you and say no. Yeah? And so I need to change the way you look at me. If you won't entertain what I have to say, well, I've got to show you that I do know my stuff, or that what I'm putting out there is valid for this approach. If you don't like the technology or the innovation or the change team or the partners, I have to change the way you see them, or change the way you see the process. Does that make sense? So if I need to do that, that's where we come to here. Now, the one thing that I'll say to you is it's not about manipulation. Okay, so manipulation is when you go out to do something to other people. Has anyone heard of a gentleman by the name of Bernie Madoff? Yeah. So Bernie Madoff ran the Ponzi scheme in the US, got 150 years jail for his troubles. Bernie Madoff, when he first created that Ponzi scheme, believe what you like, it was never going to work. And at some point in time, someone was going to get hurt, and it was generally the last people in through the door. He knew that his system would eventually hurt somebody, so he was doing it to people. That makes sense. Persuasion is when we're doing something for someone. They don't necessarily have to like it. Yeah, at the point in time, I can deal with my son, for example, and he doesn't necessarily like the fact that I'm getting him to clean up his room, but if I show him that I'm doing it for him, because if he doesn't get to go to soccer and he doesn't do all these other things, and he goes, okay, I'll do it. To give you a very extreme example, I did a project with the Department of Immigration to get boat people to go home voluntarily. Do you think that's a hard sell? I just spent 3 months on a leaky boat. It cost them $50,000 to get here, and you say, hi, by the way, would you mind just jumping on a plane and going home? Now, this was for people that they had no legal right to stay here. The minister was not intervening. A decision had been made. They had no legal grounds, and they were being asked to go. Now, do it forcibly, that's bad news to go back to some countries escorted by Australian officials to then say, hi, how are you going? This person just turned up in our country, can you have them back? It just puts them on a radar. And when you show them that they have ownership and they have an ability to control going back when they do it and buying tickets and doing those sorts of things, it's all just in the presentation. It was in the framing. So when we frame certain things to people, it's showing them that I'm not actually doing this to you, but if we don't take this pathway, and the reason why I use that one is, should they have chosen to stay and go unlawful and go into the community, the debt they would have incurred to the Commonwealth, they would never, ever, ever be able to repay in their whole entire lives. You know, so therefore, it was far worse if that was going to happen for them. So we had to get them engaged in that process. So think about for you guys at work at the moment, are you dealing with people who feel that you are making them do stuff? Do they sit there and go, you are making me do it? And do they feel that there's a negative side to what you're doing? Because if that's the case, we've got to change that perception of what that is for you, okay? So manipulation is doing something to people, persuasion is doing something for people, okay? That's how we explain it. So I want to quickly, before we jump in the tools, just touch on some of the responses that people have to social influence and the way that they engage. And so if we understand what motivates people, yeah, and what we can use to get them on board. And so you need to know when you're dealing with someone if it is the right thing for them to do. Do you know people who do things because it's the right thing to do? They don't necessarily believe in it, they're not passionate about it, but I'll do it because it's the right thing. Classic example, leadership group within an organisation or a board of directors. You might have someone that's not really that on board with the drive or the innovation or whatever it is you're proposing, but due to governance and their role on the board, they'll do it because it's the right thing to do. So I'm not going to pitch to that person to do this because the next one is that you want to do it. I'm going to pitch to that person to show them this is the right thing to do. Shareholders, organisations, staff, whatever it might be. And in the current environment, there's a lot of people doing things because it's the right thing to do. They prefer not to, but they're doing it because it's the right thing. The other ones want to. And now, I'm not going to get you to put your hand up. You don't have to answer this question. But if you know, do you know people who volunteer their time? You may volunteer your time. You know, no one I'm continually amazed by people who volunteer. No one rings them at 3:30 in the morning and say, hey, can you get out of bed and come and help us at the soup kitchen? Or can you get up and spend your whole weekend doing this? They do it, and they do it because they want to do it. They are self-driven, they have initiative. There's an endless amount of energy for them to do that thing because it comes from internal. Does that make sense? So if I can get you to do something because you want to, right thing or want to within us drives momentum. It changes that motivation, and as all good leaders know, if I can persuade someone, if I can get you to do something because it's the right thing or because you want to, I only have to do it once. If I make you do something, yeah, which is where a lot of people sit in a compliance space, if I just say, look, you've got to do it, hold a gun to your head, effectively, it's the stick approach. Have you ever dealt with people where you have to push them to do things? And then, here's a better question. Have you ever worked with someone who has pushed you to do things you didn't really want to do? What does that build within you when you get pushed to do things? How do you feel towards that person? Resentful, yeah? And so it builds resentment, and internally what resentment builds is something called reactance. And reactance is the example I showed before. Nope, nope, nope. So if you're dealing with anyone right now who says, you make me do stuff, I have to do it, we need to try and turn that around from a have to a want to or a right thing. And you go, Anthony, are you crazy? This has been going on for a long time. How am I going to do that? Well, what I'm about to show you is not a magic trick. I'm not going to say that it will work instantaneously. Some will. But sometimes, if I can get you to go from, like, have you ever tried to influence people and you're not even anywhere near them? You're walking down the hallway, they can hear your shoes coming down the hallway, and they're already starting to yell, no! Because they know you're going to ask them something and they're going to shut you down. If I can get you to go from no, no, no to no, well, that's better, because at least you slow down. And then if I can get you to go from no to maybe, whatever, well, that's better. And then I can move you towards agreement. So we can actually take people from vehement disagreement in through indifference and apathy into agreement, into strong agreement. Now, some people, you could imagine if I was going to approach a member of one of the, supporter of one of the two major political parties in the country, and I was going to try and convert them to the other way of thinking. I'm never going to get them into strong agreement. At best, if I can get them to apathy or indifference, that's great. As long as I don't have them in vehement disagreement and they're not all over the place saying negative things, that's good. So it's understanding sometimes getting people from no to is better than having them just stuck in the disagreement. Does that make sense? And so and the tools is basically how we allow that to happen. So where Cialdini, I guess, set himself apart from a lot of other researchers was, has everyone heard of Jonestown, where they drank out of the vat of poison? So he interviewed the cult recruiter for Jonestown. He went and found the compliance experts in the world. Who are the people that could get you to say yes to things? Did anyone ever, way back in the day, buy encyclopedias from someone who knocked on your door? Or someone rings up over the telephone and they try and sell you a water tank or a solar system. What would make you say yes to doing that? And so Cialdini went out and he interviewed those people and looked at their training and reverse engineered what they did. But the thing that he did is he found those who were really, really good at it. And whatever he found in the real world, he brought it back into the lab and they reverse engineered it, and then they did research and proved it. And the things that he found is that we're able to distill it all down into 6 principles. And these are the 6 principles. They're the ones on your card. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 of these today. But to give you an overview of what they are, reciprocity, the biggest challenge with reciprocity is actually saying it. So if you can't say reciprocation. So with reciprocity, we feel obliged to give back to those who've given to us first. Yeah? Have you ever felt the pull of reciprocity? Someone does something nice for you and you feel obliged to do something for them. So I'm actually going to talk about reciprocity this morning. The bookend is scarcity. Scarcity is the rule of the rare. Now the thing is, times like Christmas have destroyed scarcity in the commercial space because they overuse it. And when things are rare or dwindling in availability, we feel more inclined to get them. So I'm going to talk about your time and I'm going to talk about how you might use those. But by way of example, if we use it too much, it actually adjusts our social norm down. And by way of example, when was the last time anyone ever bought a full price rug? These rugs are always on sale. There's some dude screaming at you from the TV telling you they're half price. So if you walked into a shop and someone said, this is a handmade Persian rug, blah, 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 and it's $3,500, you'll go, so it's really only about $1,500 then, because that's your adjusted value point. And then you go, I'm not buying it today because there will be a sale at some point in time. So what happens is there's no motivation there because the scarcity has been overused and it has been killed. Do you know people who pretty much run around all the time with a stick, or the sky is falling approach and telling people what's going on? If you use it too much and not appropriately, it invalidates the tool. So I'm going to talk about how we would use that. Authority. If you are seen as someone who has extra knowledge or wisdom, then people are inclined to listen to you. Are there people in your industries that when they speak, you listen? When they say things, you go, okay, well, if it comes from them, that's an example of an authority. Who here knows their job? Just put your hand up if you know your job. Okay, good. Because the thing is, if you're not putting your hand up and you come and talk to me about your job, I'm going to really struggle to believe you if you don't think you're an authority. And I'm not talking about fake it until you make it. But what I'm saying is show me you know your stuff, and I'm far more inclined to listen to you than if you don't. Okay? Consistency is when we make a decision or take a stand on a particular thing, we feel personal and interpersonal pressure to remain committed to that, to follow through. By way of example, have you ever made a commitment to meet someone somewhere and you're running late? And how do you feel as soon as you go, oh man, I'm late, the traffic's starting to bank up? How do you start to feel? Anxious. Drive a little bit crazy. I think taxi drivers are late everywhere. That just explains their driving. And so the thing is, we tend to get anxious and we drive a little bit crazy because we go, I said I would be there. And we don't have positive names for people in society who don't do the things they say they will. Would you agree with that? So these things are, think of them as decision triggers. They're hardwired into who we are and the way that we interact as a species. Liking. We like to say yes to those who we like, basically. So we say yes to those we know and like. Are there people here right now that you would, given a short list, and I said, who are the top 3 people you would really like to work with in your organisation? Would the top 3 generally be people you like, or you've worked with before, or you know that it'll be a positive experience? And so we're not talking necessarily about the warm, fuzzy, emotional liking. We're talking about even down to the fact that you can get on and you can work together. Okay. And the final one is consensus. The power of people. Does anyone here like travelling? Yeah? So you go to a new place, you need to find somewhere to eat, you walk down the street, there's one restaurant that is empty, there is one restaurant that is full. Which one do you go to? The one that's full. It doesn't actually mean that the food is any good, it just says there's lots of other people there, well, I'll go there too. And people go, oh, that's just unthinking, lemming-like herd behaviour. And go, well, it's not, because the behaviour of the crowd has always served us well. And so we're not saying it's unthinking, but we're going to look at how we use it. So this morning, I'm going to talk about reciprocity and scarcity because they're the two bookends, and I'm going to talk about consensus because that's one you can use immediately with the resources that you have. Okay, is that all right with everyone? Yep, all right. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what your little card refers to. Has everyone got one? Just make sure I didn't miss out anyone. Right, you are. So let's kick off and talk about reciprocity. So as I said, people are obliged to give back to those who've given to them first. And so you go, okay, who's got a gift register here in their organisation? So when we start to talk about gifts, people go, hang on, tickets to the football, no good. Lunches, no good. Bottle of wine, no good. Box of chocolates, no good for some organisations. I want to actually shift you out of the thought process of tangible gift giving into intangible gift giving because of where reciprocity comes to the fore when we're building relationships. Okay, and so it's about building relationships. It's about maintaining relationships. When was the last time, or do you have someone who calls themselves a friend and they only ever ring you when they want something? Do you only ever hear from them, go, oh yeah, something's happened, and they give you a ring? How many of you have a weekly ritual of ringing maybe 3 to 5 people just because? Yeah, good one, John. And so the thing is, if you do that, why wait until something's gone wrong? You make it an everyday habit to ring people, and just maybe it's one person a day. Ring them up, say, hi, how you going? Good. What's happening? Nothing. If you're in a customer service industry, it's how's the product going or how's the service going? If it's internally of your business, it might be other business owners or other business leaders. It might be other offices interstate, and it's just picking up the phone and going outside of your meetings and your national leaders meetings and those sorts of things, and just saying, how are things going? Is there anything we need to know about? Because when was the last time you rang someone from a business context and just said, hi, how are you? And they go, good. Chasing anything in particular? No, I just want to see everything was all right. And they go, I'm really glad you called. I only thought about you the other day. And what that is, and then a new opportunity arises. Now, that never would have happened unless you had have rung them because they're busy. So I talk to people about reciprocity and say, if you give, then people are obliged to give back to you. They go, but they never give. They don't give something. Go, well, what opportunities are you creating for them to give back to you? Are you creating the opportunity? I have one particular client. She is works for an organisation where her target of influence is 3 above her level. But she's a very constrained organisational chart in that the people that sit directly above her are threatened by her, so they don't push her ideas up the chain. So one of her greatest influence strategies is a cup of tea, because she knows what time the person 3 levels above her goes and gets a cup of tea. So she just gets a cup of tea around the same time. And invariably what happens, they're having a cup of tea, how are you going? Good, how's that project going? Oh no, good, we haven't got this time frame, or this milestone slipped, or that. Really? How come I don't know about that? Let me get straight onto it. And she gets more done over a cup of tea than any business case or written report ever does, because she's investing in the relationship and has a really strong relationship with that leader. If you think back to the old smokers networks, you know, smokers used to know stuff. And it was because they'd go out, and what else are you going to do while you're sharing that time with people, but they'd also build those relationships, and pay grades or organisational scales dropped away. So for you, I would say, what are you doing to build relationships? What are you doing to maintain relationships? And if a relationship has started to go south, what are you doing to repair that relationship? So reciprocity is a tool that you can use in that space. Okay, and so people are obliged to give. Every society on earth teaches it. We teach our children, if someone gives you something, you say thanks. Yeah, if someone does something nice for you, you feel obliged to give back to them. TUI's ran an entire beer commercial campaign on it, around the beer economy. You do this, what is it going to cost me? How much should I give you in return for that? We also have an obligation to repay and to receive. Have you ever had someone attempt to give you something and you feel you couldn't accept it, but you felt really uncomfortable because you didn't accept it? It's actually hardwired into us that we're obliged to receive. So when we use the intangibles, it's far better for the relationship building, maintaining and sustaining, because it doesn't have that inappropriateness necessarily attached to it. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to get you to talk to each other very quickly. And I want you to have a think about what are some of the things you could give people to open up a relationship, repair a relationship, or maintain a relationship. And I'll start you off. If there's someone in your organisation who's really struggling, I'm not talking about just everyday people. I'm talking about someone who's got a project or something that's really, really taking some time, it's creating some concern, it's creating some stress. Your time and your expertise with that person to just go up and say, do you just want 15 minutes? We can sit together and just talk about it. Now, the gift there is your time, it's recognition, it's the opportunity to talk to you. There's a number of things bundled in there. Now, because you have done that, are they more inclined to give to you when you need extra time from them or extra support or extra resources? But you have to go first. You've got to invest in them, okay? So when we give gifts, it's actually recognising that it's the things that are significant to the person. They're customised. You know, people who just walk in and give things to everybody in their time. I know a particular CEO of an organisation at Christmas time. He gave everyone in his organisation a picture frame. A white picture frame with no picture in it. That's just weird that you would get that. And so the thing is, no one felt special. They go, are we supposed to put a picture of him in it? Are we supposed to put a picture of us in it? Do we put our family in it? What do we do? And it was just odd. And there was no value in that gift. But if someone actually gets your recognition or your time, then it is customised to them. It is significant. And generally, the best gift you've ever been given is one that you don't see coming. It's the unexpected gift. Okay, and so that's where we can really start to repair those relationships. So, turn to the person next to you. What is something that you could do walking out of here this morning to advance a relationship or repair a relationship by you giving an intangible to the other person? Off you go. About 30 seconds. Have a chat. Okay, so wrap up the point you're on. Rightio. So I'll bring you back in. Who came up with a cracking idea? None of you. You were just talking to each other. I heard you. What did you come up with? Just give me some examples. What are some things that you could give people to open up a relationship that really don't cost you that much? You've been dropped in it now. So, what did you come up with?
I just tend to, if I've just met somebody, I tend to divulge something personal about myself.
Yep.
And be a bit vulnerable, and then they actually reciprocate with that.
Yeah, and that comes down to liking as well, where we look at the things we have in common. But the old quid pro quo, I give a bit of me, you give a bit back. Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually, and showing people that you're not perfect, showing people that you've been there, that's also a gift to say, I don't know everything, I'm not the best in the world, I've been there as well. And for managers and leaders, for junior staff or up-and-comers to realise that you're not always the critical person or you're always the perfect person. You go, I understand where you've been because I've done that, and let me give you a bit of a benefit of the hard road I trade. Yes, absolutely. Give a bit of yourself.
Jenny's comment was a very good one, which is start with something positive.
Yep.
If you've got a hard message, you start with a positive. As I always talk about having 4 kids, catch them doing something right before you tell them to clean up their room. Yeah,
that's right. And put in a praise sandwich. Start good, deal with the corrective action, and then finish good. But the thing is, do you know people who are grumpy? Do you know you deal with people who are just every day it's hard work? If you're cheerful, if you're positive, if you're just open to other ideas. So if someone comes in and says, hey, you know what, can we do this differently? As Jenny said, being open to that and being positive is very, very different to someone who just shuts everyone down and goes, not enough time, not enough budget. And there can be reasons for it, but we need to explain to people what it might be. Yeah? For this table, anyone? What'd you come up with?
We came up with listening.
Yeah, okay.
Just simply allowing the opportunity to talk and to air their grievances about all of the things that upset them.
Yeah, because genuine listening then allows for recognition of the problem, that it is valid. You're able to do other things as a result of that. Yeah. Did you guys have one that was outstanding?
So much outstanding, but if you can understand what it is that people are trying to achieve, sometimes you can do a little job, just play a little positive role to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah. And a lot of this, you'll sit there and go, well, this is common sense, Anthony. We know this. Go, yeah, I want you to take it out of the intuitive. I want you to take it out of the ad hoc and just in case, and think about it from a planned, deliberate strategy. Sit there and look at who in your staff, who in your leadership team, who in your organisation are you not getting on with. And there's a pretty good example, or that would be pretty good to say that whatever you're not getting from them is generally what you're not giving to them. So if you're not getting their time, are you giving your time? If you're not getting their understanding, well, are you understanding where they're coming from first? It may be yes, but it may be no. Because with reciprocity, like begets like. Do good things, you'll get good things back. So give people respect, you'll get respect. Do you know people who disrespect other people? How miserable is their life? Because they get disrespect from other people. You've heard of karma. Basically, we give what we get. And so some of the ideas, you can give people information, assuming that's okay. If you send information out, the one thing that I would encourage you to do, don't do big, broad brush, all staff emails. Select someone out. And if I say, hi Scott, I just came across this article. I thought you'd be really interested. Some management groups in Canada are doing this and this, really innovative. Catch you later, Anthony. That's to Scott. It's not to everyone. So what does that do for our relationship? It actually shows him that I'm thinking of him, that, yeah, I've got this information. Now, if he comes across something from Influence or Persuasion here in Australia, is it more likely than not that he'll send me an email, say, hey, I just came across this, and now we're interacting, we're sharing, okay? So the reason why I'm saying don't do big broad brush, yes, it's easy, but it does nothing to value the information and value the relationship. Have you ever got emails from people who just all staff you into stuff and you go, come on, at least vet it. This has got nothing to do with me, and it actually detracts from the relationship. It does not enhance the relationship. Okay. Your time, humour, we spoke about, understanding, honesty. Giving people constructive feedback is a gift. When was the last time you were in a restaurant? You sat there with whoever you're eating dinner with. You're enjoying the company, whinging about the food, and then the wait person comes over and goes, how is everything? You go, great. It's very far from great because you've just been bagging it. They don't learn anything from that. Now, I'm not saying with the advent of cooking shows, we've got chefs stabbing patrons and stuff because they're sending back meals. But what I'm saying is if service wasn't great, if things aren't fantastic, don't tell them it's fantastic. Just say, oh, yeah, it's been okay. That's an opportunity to them. If they're customer service oriented, to say, why? What's the problem? Well, we've been here for 2 hours and we haven't had a drink of water. That's an issue. Yeah. And so give them that feedback. For your staff, for your organisations, withholding feedback and going, I feel really bad because it's negative, they don't learn anything from it. So if you come at that from a position of going, I'm actually doing this for you, not doing it to you, remember? I'm enhancing our relationship. You need to know this, because if you keep doing that, your career will not progress very quickly. We get leaders who are toxic within organisations and no one ever tells them that they're toxic. Have you ever had friends have you ever had the stupid friend who does things that the rest of the friends go, that person's an idiot. If they keep doing that, we're going to ostracise them from the group. And you've been the one to deliver the news to say, hey, stupid friend, can you just be a little less stupid? You're actually being spoken about. But you can have that conversation in a respectful way and your relationship will be enhanced because you were the person who told them that everyone else thinks they're a bit of a goose. Does that make sense? So it's in the way we deliver the message and it's how we actually engage with it. Your expertise and your personal effort. People who put in personal effort, one of the ways that we create liking is we use praise, and one of the most beneficial words in the English language is the word appreciate. I appreciate the time you put into that. I appreciate the effort you put into that, because appreciate means it comes from me, it's internal, I've thought about it, and I'm now telling you that this is something from me. So that's a gift as well, when we actually gift of recognition and opportunity. Does that make sense? So just think about how you use them. Be a little more proactive, pre-planned and deliberate rather than just ad hoc in the way that we engage with them. The one thing we have to do with reciprocity is you've got to show your work. It is no point you doing all this work and doing things for people but you never tell them. If you put together proposals and you give like options, 3 recommendations, and go, here are the 3 recommendations, and the boss sits there or the leader sits there or your team sit there and go, man, why is this taking so long to come up with 3? It's because we considered 4,027 and we got it down to 3. Unless you tell them the work you have done, they do not value that from your perspective. So if you value your time, you value your effort, make sure you tell people so they can value it as well, and then reciprocate in kind. Does that make sense? Yep, okay. So that's it. That's as much as we'll do with reciprocity. And actually, I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to talk about this in the masterclass a little bit later. But how many of you, when someone does something for you and says thank you, how many of you say no problems? That's okay. Do you ever do that? Because if you do, stop it. Because if someone genuinely thanks you, they say thank you so much for doing that for me, and you go, nah, doesn't matter, would have done it for anyone, that's okay. What are you actually saying to that person?
Nothing special.
You're nothing special, and that wasn't special, and pretty much I'd do it for anyone. And if that's not true, all you're doing is shattering your relationship. If it did take effort, say, look, it did take a bit of time, but you do the same for me. That's what long-term partners do for one another, you know. And I had a classic example. This is an intuitive guy. My printer, my laser printer, had some cataclysmic error where it just wouldn't work. And I rang up the local guy who I get my supplies from and said, do you know anything about this printer? And he goes, yeah. And I said, do you know how I can get someone to come and look at it, because there's no service agent for this particular printer nearby? And he said, just bring it down. And I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah, I'll fix it for you, no problems. And he said, because that's what I do for my regular customers. And I went, okay. And I hung up the phone and went, nice. What's he just done to me? I'm now a regular customer. Oh, he sees me and says, hey, I like you. Where am I going to go and buy all my printer supplies from? Him. So all he's done is invested in his business. It's one line in a sentence, but he thought about it, and I thought that was really well done, the way he executed that. And he's a nice guy, so that helps as well. Okay. So don't devalue thanks when people give it to you. Okay. The bookends, so reciprocity, the things we can give in reciprocity. Do you have people who don't value your time, who don't value the things you give, and you put in this effort and they just take and they will bleed you dry if given the opportunity? That's where scarcity comes in. Yeah, so it's the bookend. And so the things we can give in reciprocity, we can withhold in scarcity. So if someone is not valuing your time, what should you do with it?
Take it away.
Make it less available. How many of you have an open door policy? How's that work for you? You get distracted? Struggle? Yeah, you're always there after everyone else leaves so you can finally get something done. If you work from home, you're far more productive than you ever will be in the office. Because people just drop by and go, hi, go shut up, leave me alone. Yeah. One thing that I would encourage leaders to do with an open door policy, keep it by all means, but it's an open calendar policy. In your day, slot out between 9:30 and 11, open door policy, but you've got to book it into my calendar, and I only have these slots available. Once they're gone, they're gone. And I'll see you again between 3 and 4. It doesn't take long for people to realise when they walk up to your door at 12 o'clock and go, can I just see you about this? Yeah, no problems, book it into 3 because I'm busy now, I can't see you till then. And they go, you don't talk to me anymore? Well, I do when you book it into my calendar, and you value your time, value your productivity, and all of a sudden, look how quickly people book your time out in advance. And they go, I need to see you Thursday. Can I come see you at 9 o'clock straight away? Is that okay? You go, yeah. Now your productivity goes up, their productivity goes up. You don't get distracted when they're in the room with other people dropping by, and you're saying to people, I'm doing this for you, so when we meet, you have my undivided attention, we resolve your issue quickly, and you can get done what you need to. So actually do it for them, not to them, in the way that we engage, okay? So with scarcity, things are much more valuable when they are less available. And I'm not saying don't give your time to people at all, but just value your time and restrict that if they're not valuing it. Here's a question for you. What would make 60,000 people ring up with calls of complaint about a new product that was actually better than the old product and they liked more than the old product? Does that sound a little counterintuitive? There's a better product, they like it more than the old product, but it got 60,000 calls of complaint. And it was Coke. With the old Coke, when they actually said, you know what, we've done a whole lot of blind testing, we know that people don't really like the old Coke compared to the new Coke, so we're changing the recipe. Riots, protests, members of parliament were called, you can't take it off us. Why? Because we won't be able to get it anymore. It doesn't matter that the new product was better, it was the fact that they wouldn't be able to get the old product. And that drove a whole lot of angst within people. So if you are taking things away from people, make sure you explain it to them properly. Yeah, let them know that if this is happening, why it's happening. A classic example is what happened here in Queensland over the last 18 months, 2 years. It's happening all around Australia. There are decisions that are being made, but they're not necessarily being communicated that well. If you ever deliver a message that could scare someone, i.e., we're going through a downsizing, or we're leaning some situations up within our organisation, if someone could be scared of that, always make sure you include the steps of how to remedy it. Whilst we will be doing downsizing, we'll be holding meetings, we'll be doing this, we'll be talking about that, you'll get this, you'll have the opportunity to communicate, you'll get an email every Monday. Show them, if you're worried, this is where you need to go. And so you actually don't say, hey, we're going to cut some jobs, see ya. Because what would happen if you just said we're going to cut some jobs and walked away? What's going to happen to your workforce? Exactly. 60,000 complaints. People riot, they walk all over just because they're not going to get Coke anymore. Yeah, so understanding how that might come in. So one of the things, if anyone knows the answer to that question, I'd be happy to know it. So this guy here was it's a genuine photo. He's on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the US. He's up to the $1 million question, and he gets this one. The volcano known as Wheelbarrow is closest to what Icelandic city? Do you reckon he knows the answer? How many of you speak in gain language? You talk, if you do this, you will get this. If you do this, you will get that. And it's the old features, benefits-based solution sales model. Stop it. You can talk about the benefits, but really you need to show people what they stand to lose. So if we don't move now, we will not get this opportunity. You have this point of time, and if you don't, then something else will happen. And it's not about threatening them, it's about honestly conveying what people stand to lose. If you've got a team with a speciality and a knowledge base that has not been able to access anywhere else in the business, say to them, it's available now, but if we don't have a decision within the next 4 or 5 days, those resources will be allocated and you may not get another opportunity to work with those guys for another 3 or 4 months. That's honest. Yeah? And then they'll come and say, can't we just pinch that person? No, you had your opportunity. So when we apply scarcity, the one thing you have to do is when you say something will no longer be available, you have to make it no longer available. Yeah, because if we can always get it, that's what the rug situation has happened. So highlight what people stand to lose. Highlight the fact that people are in competition with others. The idea behind the open calendar policy is who are people competing for? If they want your time, who are they competing with for time in your calendar? So it might be other staff, it might be other leaders, it might be external partners, it could be whoever. And as long as they go, we're competing with people, they understand that. Have you ever been, and I won't name the company, but the companies now in the sector that are doing it, but have you ever tried to book an aeroplane flight somewhere and you go onto the website and it says, hurry, start off 5. There's only 5 seats left. When the competitor came in, now it's 3. Hurry, there's only 3 seats left. And you go to another website to check another competitor's price and you come back and it's gone. Yeah, you only have to miss it once, and that's the thing with scarcity. When we understand that we missed it, that's the motivation to move through. So if people are not taking action, you ever dealt with procrastinators? If you're dealing with procrastinators, show them what they stand to lose. Show them they're in competition with other people. If they feel scared, give them the clear steps to remedy that, but show them that there is implications of this. Don't overuse scarcity because it loses its value. But think about the things I can give you in reciprocity. I can give you my time. I can give you my expertise. I can give you these things. But if you do not reciprocate, then I will make them less available to you because you're not playing the game. Have you ever valued something extremely when it wasn't available to you anymore? You had access to a particular person or an expertise or something in the organisation. Then when that went away, you went, man, how much do they do for me? Sometimes we have to periodically just hold back a little bit and go, we're tied up on another project or we've got different priorities for this quarter, and reduce that so that people start to value you and your time and your expertise and your team and your leadership and your knowledge and all those sorts of things if you're being devalued. Any of you involved in social communities, like it's quite easy when you're involved in sporting clubs or those sorts of things for the jobs to fall on just one person all the time. And so just let some stuff slip. It's going to hurt, but when people, where are our drinks or where is our fruit? Oh, sorry, didn't get enough time. I was putting up the tent and marking out the lines and doing that. Yeah, didn't get that. And they go, oh. Now why? They lose the food and the stuff they like, so then people start to pony up and do a little bit more. So just think about how you might apply it. It's not extortion because it's really valuing your time and what you bring to the market, okay? Is that okay with scarcity? I'm going to open up for questions in a sec, so we'll just get through this last one, then you guys can bounce things around. The last one that I want to talk about this morning is consensus, the power of people. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Stanley Milgram? So Stanley Milgram did the authority test where someone would deliver a near fatal level of electric shock to someone else just because someone in a white coat said to do it. Stanley Milgram also did the sky gazing study where in Manhattan he got one person to walk along and at a predetermined spot stop and look up. And they waited to see how many people would stop. Now when there was one person, people would just walk around and go, lunatic, walk past them. When it got to 2 people, a few more people said lunatics, but they kept walking past. Got to 5, up to 20 people would stop. If we had a group of 5 people now, and we walked into the Queen Street Mall, and walked along and stopped and looked up, at least around 20 people would stop and look up. And if you don't believe me, try it on the way back to work. See, here you go. When they got to 10, the police got involved. Because when 10 people walk along a street, stop simultaneously and look up, the aliens are coming. Yeah, and so people were pulling over their cars and looking up and what's that all about? So how the power of people, how we actually engage this. Think about how you are showing your targets of influence what other people like them have been doing in this situation. If you're influencing a leader, show them what other leaders are doing. If you're influencing staff members, show them what other staff members are doing. If you're trying to influence your organisation, show them what other organisations like you are doing in this particular circumstance. So it's statistics, it's polls, it's case studies. Does anyone here use testimonials? Testimonials written are good. Testimonials with a photo are better. Video testimonials are 10 times more effective, because when you watch a video testimonial, you go, oh, there's the person, and I can see them, as opposed to, have you ever read a written testimonial and looked at it and gone, that's not true, they made that up. It's pretty hard to dodge it when there's someone talking to you on video, okay? So it's understanding that I can mobilise people by showing them what other people like them are doing. How many of you work in the city? Because I want to give you a little bit of homework to do. And it's nothing, if you are in the city or you're wandering along at any point in time, as you're going down Edward with the intersection of Adelaide Street, on the Queen Street Mall side of the road is a sushi shop. Go there between 10:30 and 2 pretty much any day, and look at the size of the line that there is at that sushi shop. And people will be walking past, not wanting sushi, and go, and they'll line up. Now that's not the end of the homework though. Stand on the intersection and have a look on the central side, so up on the high side of the hill. There is another sushi shop almost directly opposite the street to the one that's really popular, and there's never anyone in there. I've tried the sushi from both. They're both pretty good. Yeah, the one on the popular one is marginally cheaper. But look at the consensus side. And when there's no people just wander by. When there's lots of people, other people stop. And so it actually drives, why would I buy that sushi? Because other people are buying it. Oh, it must be good. Yeah. I don't know what I want for lunch today. Wow, lots of people are buying that sushi. Yeah, I want sushi. They didn't want that beforehand. My wife, I'm a cricket fanatic. I've done the first day, the first test at the Gabba since I came to Brisbane many, many moons ago. My wife knows I like cricket. She hates the fact I like cricket because she doesn't like it at all. And she came home one day and she gave me this present. And it was Adam Gilchrist's biography. And I went, okay, that's a strange one that you bought me a cricket-related gift, but that's interesting. I said, why did you buy me this book? She goes, well, it must be good. And I said, why? She said, because I was in the shopping centre and there was this big, massive line of people. And that guy there was signing the books. And there was all this cricket stuff around, so I knew he was a cricketer. So I bought it for you. And I opened it up and went, oh, where did he sign it? She goes, no, I didn't line up and get it signed. I just bought the book. So now if we go back to Reciprocity, how good was that gift? But the thing is, from consensus, she only bought that book because she knows that I like cricket, and all these people are saying that must be a good book. Yeah, and so I'm not that into Adam Gilchrist. I mean, he's a good cricketer, but I'm not going to sit and read his life story. So I re-gifted it. And so, see, all of these things, they're on the video, I'm in trouble now. All right. So with consensus, show other people what people like them are doing in a particular situation. So have you been to a website where people talk about all those people they work with, and it's like this massive, massive page of people, and you just go, okay. In that circumstance, it works to say that you're working with many people, but you start to question it and go, why do you need to list every single person in history that you've ever worked with? That's interesting. It's better to segment your testimonials into industry sectors and go, if you're working across industry, this is what we've done with sales, this is what we've done with marketing and copy, this is what we've done with professional services. So that, because people most like them, so if I come to your website and look at it and I go to testimonials, or I see that you've done work with sales and I'm in sales, I'm going to click on the sales people. I'm not going to look at the manufacturing people. And where that works is sometimes you'll get a really good client, like you might get a big marquee brand like IBM, one of the banks, one of the big four banks, Morgan Stanley, might be something like that. And people overuse that testimonial to say, look how big and shiny we are. The problem happens is if you deal with lower people as well, and I did this inadvertently. I thought I put a reasonably good cross-section of testimonials on my workshop brochure because I run a 2-day workshop, and I thought I had a pretty good breakdown. It was interesting, people picked it up and I had some feedback to say, oh, that workshop's not for me. And I said, why is that? And they said, you've got to be a leader to attend that workshop. And when I looked at it, I did. They were all managing partners, CEOs, leaders, because they gave the best testimonials, which was about how it was going to move their organisation and their people. I didn't actually look at it from when someone would find it and go, oh no, that's not an operational tool, so that must be for the people up above. So again, my perspective totally missed the target market that I was looking at. So, you know, I don't get it right all the time either. So show people what people like them are doing. And sometimes if you write a report and you're trying to influence a number of areas in the business, you might have a singular document, but you might have a number of versions of the executive summary. You might have a number of versions of briefings and say, this is for this part of the business, this is for stakeholders, this is for, because you're going to present it in a different way. Same content, same recommendations, but you spin it in a way that they go, that makes sense to me. Now, is it more effort? Yes. But is it worthwhile getting the project up? And if you start to look at the value of some of the things you work in, having an extra meeting or two is actually good value, okay? The kicker is if you can show me what many similar people are doing. So you show me what many people like me are doing, then I'm on board. Yeah. And so sometimes get a little bit creative. You may need to get offshore. You may need to look at what people are doing internationally if there's no like competitors to you in Australia. Show them what. That's why CEOs. Anyone? Well, you know, you're part of the leadership group here, obviously with an aim. But that's why groups like CEO networks and tech and those institutes work, because what other opportunity do leaders have to come together and talk to other leaders about the problems they're having? Because they struggle to talk to people. That's why heads of country conferences, where John Howard and George Bush came together, well, who else can have a conversation around, hey, is your deputy trying to stab you in the back? Yeah. What do the people think about you? They think I'm crazy. You know, they have that conversation at a leader level. And so sometimes it's, I'm showing you what other leaders like you are doing, or I'm showing you what other team leaders are doing. So really try and nail that if you can. How many of you have statistics, data, case studies that you can honestly admit are looking really, really good in the bottom of a drawer somewhere? Because what we do is we collect a lot of data and then we go, yeah, we'll get back to it, and it never gets used. I guarantee right now you would have an enormous amount of statistics and information in your organisation that you could pull to the surface and say, hey, look at this. Yeah, this is what people have done. If not, make a snappy phone call to some of your clients, whoever you're trying to influence, and just do a random, so ring up and say, hey, how important is this to you? Or what are your thoughts on that? Or that new thing that we've done? Or what do you think? Standard questions, ring around, you can say, 99% of people we spoke to are interested in this. Now, what's your sample size? It can't be just your mum and your dad. Yeah, it's got to actually be a reasonable sample size. But now you've got consensus data to say 100% of our clients wanted to know more about this, or a majority of staff are concerned about this. So we wanted to hold a meeting just to talk about what this issue was, to deal with those issues. Now, the one thing you've got to do though, be careful not to normalise bad behaviour. Yeah, so if, let's say, 3/4 of people are turning up to meetings on time. If you start to jump and rant and rave and go, I'm sick of people not turning up on time to meetings, this is just no good, you've got to turn up. And then when people are late, they go, nah, I'm not in any hurry because other people are going to be late anyway. And it actually normalises the bad behaviour rather than saying a majority of people turn up to our meetings on time. And that's really appreciated. For those who are not, we know what's happening, but we're not going to wait for you. So scarcity plus consensus. Show them that everyone is towing the line. And for those who are not here, you're just going to miss out. So start to think about how you normalise positive behaviour, not negative behaviour. Okay? And I just wanted to show you one of the research studies that Cialdini did to give you an idea about some of the research that sits behind it. How many of you reuse your towels when you stay in hotels for more than one night? Just as part of a course. And so, you know, you either do or you don't. How many of you actually read the cards when you go into hotels? It's gone to the point that they're just invisible to me. I just sort of move them and go, yeah, whatever. But I read them because of this. The environmental appeal was simply saying, help save our environment, the environment deserves our respect, will you reuse your towel during a stay? The many others components, so this was to test consensus, they said, in a study conducted in fall of 2003, 75% of the guests participating in our new resource savings program reused their towels more than once. So now they're saying 3/4 of people who stayed with us reused their towels. The many similar others aspect was in a study conducted in fall of 2003, so I'm just reading that top line there, 75% of guests who stayed in this room, and they named the room. So now 3/4 of people who stayed in this room reused their towels. Think that would have an impact? Well, the environmental appeal generally is between 35 and 37% of people will reuse their towels anyway. So that's just the standard now of where we are. The many others, 3/4 of people who stayed in our hotel reused their towels. They bumped that up to 44% of people just with that one change. What did it cost the hotel to do that? Printed card. Yeah, it's quite low. Is an increase of near on 7%. Is that a good return on investment for printing some cards as far as daily linen use and washing within the hotel? Yeah? And so really big benefit from a really small change. By showing that 3/4 of people who stayed in this room, now this was not true, by the way, they actually made this up for the purposes of the research. Nearly half of people then reused their towels just because 3/4 of people who stayed in this room reused their towels. Now, I just find that weird. Because you sit there going, oh, I don't want to know about the people who stayed in the room before me. All they did was contribute to it not being as good as it was before. But when I'm not sure, should I reuse my towel? Wow, 3/4 of people who stayed in this room reuse it, okay, and it drives behaviour. Is that a good return on investment? Not one hotel chain in the world that we know of is using that as a strategy to get people to reuse their towels. So if you find it, please let me know. I'll send you a book. I'll sing your praises directly to Cialdini himself. But we've had hotel groups do our training, and they still don't do that, which is crazy. You know, it's easy money when you look at it. So the practical side of things, before I just open up some questions, if you want to see the best consensus masters in the world, you need to look no further than Apple. Apple actually execute consensus to an amazing level of granularity and coupled with scarcity, they never have enough products, so you've got to get in early. You walk past the stores and they've got the geniuses there. You want to be part of that community, and they share what the community is doing. So if you're ever interested in how consensus works, just jump on the Apple website every now and again. Does anyone, now you would buy all of your books through AIM, I have no doubt about that, but have you ever been on the website for Booktopia? If you jump on Booktopia and they've got the live feed, it actually shows you people all around the world who are buying books. But they've gone one better. It shows you people who are buying books within the area you're searching. So if I go and do a search for Cialdini's book, then all of a sudden, look at all the people around the world who are buying Cialdini's book. Yeah, and so it makes it safe to buy that product. Kogan from the appliances website does exactly the same. Mary in Perth has just bought a washing machine. John in Brisbane has just bought a TV. Oh, lots of people are buying those items. It must be safe for me. So there's a lot of examples out in the real world where we can use this and go, oh, nice use of that. I see where that came in from. Okay, so I'll pause that there and then I'll open up some questions. The things that I'm going to mention is that these books are available through AIM. I get no kickback from telling you that they're there. That was the original book that Cialdini wrote, which has influenced the psychology of persuasion. It's been updated and still a great book. It's got all the research in it. The new edition is the 5th edition that's available as well. And it's got, where it differs, they just put readers' insights. People wrote in and said, hey Bob, I use Reciprocity like this, and they put it in the new book. So that's the one after that. And then Dan Pink, has anyone heard of Dan? He wrote Drive, and now the new one is To Sell as Human. Came out this year. Dan did the 2-day Principles of Persuasion workshop before he wrote the book. He's actually used some of the examples out of the workshop in the book. So it gives you an idea of the high level recognition of the training that we provide when you get people like Dan Pink attending the training. So these are, I would recommend both of these books if you're looking to practically use this stuff. Okay, so that's enough from me. Been talking a bit. Have you got any questions for the last little bit of how we could practically apply it? If you've got any just general questions?
I have a comment and a question.
Yep.
With reference to the use of data to achieve consensus, I'm with the Queensland Government working innovation in government, which some would see as an oxymoron.
Yeah.
We've been working with the UK government. They've got a very interesting experiment where they had a problem in a certain area of people delaying or not paying rates on time.
Yep.
So you get a letter that says, excuse me, Mr. Garrett, 3 months you haven't paid your rates, I'll put them in the bin. When they sent a letter that says 93% of people in your community pay their rates on time,
yep,
they get a very significant increase. So it reinforces your point about the power of data.
Absolutely. And they did it with tax. So they did it with getting them to pay their tax on time, to reduce their energy usage. So the Nudge unit in the UK have reused it over and over again. Yeah.
The question I have is the lady who goes 2 to 3 levels up to influence in the tea machine.
Yeah.
Isn't there a danger, excuse my language, that she's pissing off 2 bosses and actually the unintended consequences of using influence inappropriately? She may get some things there, but she's got some problems with the 2.
Absolutely, and we're really, really conscious of that. So what she does is she builds the relationship there, and then what happens is he asks some questions down to say, what are we doing about this? She's also working on the relationship from the bottom up and saying, I can give you this information. She's got that available. So it could be toxic if it was done in a negative, disrespectful way. And not every conversation over a cup of tea is about work. Sometimes it's about kids and about sports. So all she does is create the opportunity to have that conversation with him. It's not always, she's not doing it particularly to get her away, but what she is making sure she's got a great relationship with someone who has buy-in to what she's doing. So yeah, it could be done, if it was done in a manipulative way, you could get caught out, but because she's got the interest in the relationship building, she's trying to repair the relationship she's got with the manager. Problem is her manager is threatened by her because she's actually she's a better expert than what the manager is, and the manager's threatened by her. So she shuts her down and doesn't put her ideas up. So we've got some strategies where now the manager's owning the ideas and it's all good. Yeah. So, and the ideas around that you mentioned with the data, there's lots of examples around how you can use consensus and how you might be able to show that. It used to be called social proof. So if you jump out and you're having some searches online, you might see that it's referred to as social proof, but the modern term that we use is consensus. In kids, it's called peer group pressure. In adults, it's called consensus. Yeah.
I jotted down before, I just wrote influence versus familiarity, and you did touch on it, but one thing, and I'll speak about my kids, when they're very familiar with you,
yep.
they don't listen to you. A new partner came into my life, they listen to her.
Yep.
And vice versa. And I have influence over her child, and it's crazy. But how does that translate, or how can you overcome that in a work environment? So if you've been there for a while,
yep.
you're not that fresh anymore to others, and you're trying to influence someone. You hear it a lot when someone, like when leaders or managers come up with a brand new way of doing something. Here's some new posters, everyone just do it now.
Yep.
And they get ignored. So just speak on that. How do you do that?
Yep, so what happens is over time, if we continue to bang the drum and go, you must do this and you must do this, and you just put a new platform out and they go, you know what, we've heard it all before, nothing happens, there's no follow through. To break through that familiarity is do something different. Actually engage people differently. Authority, which we didn't touch on, is oftentimes people have forgotten that you know your stuff. And so it's an ability for you to demonstrate by bringing other people into the organisation. So you might run a learning lunch, or you might give access to whoever, or you might go out and do an interview with industry experts or whatever it might be and bring it back to the organisation to say, look who we've got access to. And all it does is just reframe for the group that you are, have that reach that you're able to get. From a reciprocity perspective, it's actually singling people out and actually investing in them. So like someone might be struggling with something, you bring them out, or you give someone else an opportunity. So you know what, I normally brief up, it's your project, I want you to come and do the full brief, and we're going to take it all the way. I'll second chair you to help you out, and I'll work with you to develop that, but actually I want you to present it. Now if that's something you've not done before, all of a sudden they're going, you don't become invisible anymore because I'm investing in you, I'm giving you the opportunities, but I'm not going to leave you alone to do that. So it's actually thinking about how do you do things differently. By way of example, how many of you have been having a conversation outside of an elevator? And you're talking, and as soon as the elevator doors open and you walk inside, you stop talking. No one ever said an elevator is a cone of silence. However, when was the last time you walked into an elevator, people were talking, they're inside, now it's silent, and you go, isn't it quiet in here? Well, why can't we talk in elevators and just say something stupid, and what happens? The entire group erupts, yeah? It takes you to do something different. It takes you to actually go first. So in your workplace, what can you do to disarm them, to shake them up? Is it presentation of what other people like them are doing? Is it give them opportunities? Go out for we're going to go and talk to someone, you've got a great network here. We're going to go and do a site visit for another organisation. We're going to take one person out and they're going to report back to us what they saw. I know one organisation, to counter that staleness, if you like, they actually have a leadership, a relationship with a number of companies where they actually outsource or outpost their leaders for a period of time. One of them got to go to the US and spent 6 months working for a major brand. That person is now the biggest advocate for their business and is never going to leave because of that investment in him. So it's just what is within your resource scope. What can you do? Is it the intangibles? Is it your own authority? Sometimes it's don't do things for people all the time. Show them what you do, but then bring them along for the ride so they have more ownership in it as well. So start to mix some of that up. Does that help?
Yeah, not so much professionally, it's more about kids.
So in the break, if you want to talk about kids, I'll tell you why they actually defer to the new partner and how you can change that up. Yeah, so, all right. Any other questions? Yeah.
There are generational differences.
Yeah, there is. There's generational and cultural differences. So what we're seeing now, you only have to look at Quick Chat, for example, where people have been stung by taking photos and posting them online. So now we take a photo, we send it to you, but it deletes itself after 5 seconds. And so people realise that if I put myself out there from a consistency perspective, it's searchable, and it's searchable forever. Unless I know someone who's got high-level technology skills who can go and retrieve that photo, I'm pretty safe. I shudder to think what kids are taking photos of and sharing because they know it's going to evaporate. So there are different tools. You know, older people are far more inclined towards consistency because they've made more commitments through their life. So if I'm going to present a new project to an executive board, and I know 5 years ago the company said this is the most innovative time in our business and we're going to do everything we can to do that. Well, this project can say, just like 5 years ago, this is the new innovative over the horizon, and I can use that to target them because they're more inclined to be that way. Younger generations, it tends to be consensus. Show them what other people like them are doing. You get an invite via any social media tool, and you go there and there's one person going. You go, yeah, no, I'm not going. Get mobilisation and show them that lots of people like them are doing it, you get far greater uptake. Yeah, so it's just about positioning, and that's the same as different societies. So collective societies, we show them more consensus. Individualistic societies, so like the West, we use more consistency. So we can actually manipulate them and move them around to how we use them with the group. In organisations, we get different business areas that have different interests, so it's how you move that around to best target. So the manipulation of data to show at a neighbourhood level, I might do this, at a public level, I do this, at a business level, I do this, at a staff level, I do that. So we transition it in and out. Yeah.
Just with these principles, you know, you can apply them to people that you're in constant contact with.
Yep.
My question is, how do you do it with, let's say, I submit prices for big projects, and I'm meeting often with somebody that doesn't know me from a bar of soap, and I've only got half an hour.
Yep.
And I have to try to influence that person.
Yep.
I find it challenging because they don't know anything about you, I don't know anything about them.
So one of the simplest examples I can give you is the letter of introduction. It's gone by the wayside. We don't tend to use it as much anymore. From an authority perspective, I'll listen to you or give you more time if I know you know your stuff. Now, if we meet for the first time and you've got half an hour to present what you do and those sorts of things, the letter of introduction in advance is saying the people that will be coming to the meeting are X, Y, and Z, and the reason we're bringing them, this person's best of breed, got this knowledge, work with these people. You can put your consensus data in there. This is who we're working with, similar programs. Do all that long in advance. Then when you come together in the meeting, they go, okay, I should listen to you because I've read it. Now, only if they're interested will they read it. If they're not interested, as in they know the company and they're okay with that, then that doesn't have such an impact. So do that in advance. It can be emails, it can be letters. When was the last time you got snail mail? Like you get a letter in the mail on good quality paper with the it's called document legitimacy, good logo. People pick it up and go, oh, that's nice. Yeah, and it's not, if it's not a sales tool, it's just a letter of introduction, just confirming the meeting on this time, blah, blah, blah. This is who we're bringing with us. It shows that you've made that effort and you've made that investment. From a relationship perspective, if possible, always turn up a couple of minutes early, be as early as you can, and just to have a chat and you go, how are things going? Don't talk anything about work because that will start to uncover the things that you do have in common. Basically, if we drill it down to the lowest common denominator as far as shared goals go, no one generally gets out of bed in the morning and goes, I'm going to make today as ridiculously hard for myself as I possibly can and I'm going to get nothing done. It's going to be awesome. No one does that. Yeah, so, well, most normal people don't do that. And so the thing is, if you get out of bed in the morning and go, I want this to be as successful as it can be, and I want to help someone, and they get out of bed saying, I want it to be as successful as it can be, then you come together at least with that. And when you have the conversations, you start to realise from a shared goals perspective, you both want the project to succeed, you both want to do this, and you can start to invest at that level. Yeah, so just a couple of short examples. Yeah. Rightio. And if no other questions, I'll...